What's up, guys? Jordan McAbee here, fantasyracingonline.com, home of the Slingshot Fantasy Auto Contest, and today we're going to talk about Darlington and the Goodyear 400. Can you believe it's already, with this race, this will be race number 12. We're already be a third of the way through the 2021 season. I don't know about you, but it's absolutely flown by for me. But got Darlington, 400-mile race, so we're looking at 293 laps around. Darlington's a 1.33 mile track, something like that. Yeah, so a little bit shorter than the typical, Southern 500 that we usually run here. Plus, this race is going to be during the day. So if you remember back to last year, there was 3 races at Darlington. In total, the first one was during the day, and it was a little wild. It started out with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. wrecking on lap 1. Jimmy Johnson wrecking at the end of stage 1 while leading. And then William Byron, while running, I think, top 3, also wrecked. Kind of a crazy race. I don't even remember who won, but... was it Harvick? I think Harvick won 2 of the 3 last year. But check here quick. Yeah, Harvick won that one, and then he won the second one, finished third in the other one. So first, third, and first in Harvick's. So last 2 years, 4 total races of Darlington. Typically, we only get 1 race at Darlington. Now, the biggest story probably you're going to hear in fantasy NASCAR this week is going to be the package change. NASCAR decided to go with the 750 horsepower package at Darlington this year, which is typically only used at the tracks that are a mile or less in length and the road courses. So Darlington was already hard to draw any comparable tracks, like really good comparable tracks, just because it is shaped so much differently than the typical racetrack. And now we're throwing in a completely different package that we're not 100% sure what to expect. We know who's been fast with it this year. It's been Truex, Logano, and Hamlin. Logano hasn't been great here at Darlington. Truex has been good here at night, and Hamlin's pretty steady. We know how Hamlin is. My recommendation would be to look back at 2016 through 2018. Those were the low downforce package years and the closest to now, to kind of get an idea of who was good then. And obviously it's not going to compare super well to this year, but it gives you something to go off of in addition to the 3 races last year in 2019. You can also throw those in there. Darlington's also a high wear track, so we can throw in, Atlanta. Atlanta does not compare super well, but it's a high wear track, just like Darlington. That's basically a similarity of it, but something to look at. And then Homestead, also high wear, also ran this year. And then they're also NASCAR or Goodyear's bringing the same tire from Homestead to use this weekend at Darlington. So definitely something to note there. So if you're looking at the high wear tracks of this year, for a good comparison, I'd probably look at Homestead more than I would Atlanta, and then taking into account Darlington specifically. So let's go ahead and look at Homestead this year. Of course, William Byron won it. He had the best average running position. Larson was up there, as was Truex all night. All of them had about a top 5 running position. Kurt Busch, Keselowski, top 5. In terms of green flag speed, remember, these high wear tracks, if you have to pit in the middle, if you have a loose wheel and you have to pit, you're going to get those new tires. You're going to be faster than everybody else by a very good margin. So that's what happened to Kurt Busch and why he had the best green flag speed in this race. If you remember, he had to pit late and then charge back up through the field and ended up 8th. Byron, I would say, had the actual best green flag speed in this race. Of course, Keselowski up there, Truex, Larson, Chris Buescher, he came out of nowhere in that race, dominated for a lot of it, and then fell off once the sun came down. That's probably one of the most surprising things of the year, in my eyes. Definitely a good run out of that team. And Buescher's ran well here at Darlington in the past. He has a few teens finishes back in the low downforce package years, I believe. We'll get to that. We'll probably look at him later. Let's look at Atlanta real quick. We all remember Kyle Larson dominated that thing. And then Blaney came in and stole it at the end. Well, didn't steal it. I mean, he outran him. But top two cars all day. Alex Bowman was up there. Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Byron. You see the trends here. And then green flag speed in that race. Again, Kurt Busch, he wrecked. Didn't Hamlin wreck him? That's why his green flag speed is so much higher. Larson had the fastest car that day. He was even, you can see over here, 0.3 mile an hour faster than Ryan Blaney. Larson definitely the fastest at Atlanta that day. Looking at, so as I said, there was 3 Darlington races last year. Only the first one was during the day, I believe. So I'd like to look at that a little more closely as far as the loop data goes. Harvick had the best average running position. Bowman was up there all day. Keselowski, even though he finished 13th, had the 3rd best average running position. Hamlin, Kurt Busch, Clint Boyer, Chase Elliott, all strong. And then Eric Jones. Eric Jones was always very good here in Darlington. And it's one of the biggest question marks this weekend. How is Eric Jones going to do in that 43 car? Was it the talent or was it the car? Or does he still have the talent, or was it the talent, and now his current car is going to hold him back even more? Definitely something to keep an eye on, and I'm honestly not sure what to expect there. And then in terms of green flag speed for that race, Harvick, Bowman, Hamlin, Keselowski, Kurt Busch. A lot of the same guys. Tyler Reddick, who should be a popular pick this weekend, all in fantasy NASCAR all over. Let's look at the starting lineup for this weekend's race. We got Keselowski on the pole, Harvick, Kyle Busch, Truex, Byron, top 5, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Matt DiBenedetto, Austin Dillon, Tyler Reddick rounding out the top 10. Got Kyle Larson starting 14th, great place differential play. Kurt Busch, who's always been good here at Darlington, starting 17th. Alex Bowman starting 19th with that place differential potential. Eric Jones starting back in 26th. Eric Almirola, 27th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 28th. Ryan Preece, 29th. Those guys were wrecked last week, I believe, and that's a major reason that they're starting so far back. But no huge names, starting out of Kyle Larson. There's really no big names with huge place differential potential, that could win the race. Alex Bowman, very good here last year, could come away top 5. That's about the only one that I'd consider. Christopher Bell could surprise some people. Getting to my algorithm predicted finishing order, it loves Denny Hamlin this week. It's got Denny Hamlin projected to finish first you look at the power index numbers here, and Hamlin 38.6, and then a big gap down to Kevin Harvick at 34.9. I point this out in the article for the algorithm, why I think it's projecting Kevin Harvick second. Like I said, there's really no great comparable tracks, so it's really pulling in a lot of that Darlington data, and he's been so strong here. I think that's weighing heavily into that second place projection. Personally, I think Kyle Larson is going to be the fastest and definitely top 3 this race. Truex should be up there as well. Kyle Busch, yeah. Let's look at Darlington. So this is Darlington last year. Average finish wise this is 2019 and 2020. So 4 races total except for Larson. He only had the 1 race since he didn't race here last year. Average finish-wise, Larson finished second in 2019, so he has the best average finish. Kevin Harvick, average finish 2.3. Eric Jones, 4.5. Keselowski, Kurt Busch, both at 8.3. Kyle Busch, 9.5. Then Logano down at 10.3. Got Austin Dillon surprisingly does very well at this track as well. necessarily run super well and like dominate by any means, but he gets the finishes. Looking at average running position over the last 2 years here at Darlington, Kyle Larson, of course, just that one start. Harvick, Hamlin, Bowman, Jones, Chase Elliott, Clint Boyer, obviously not racing this year, but included in these numbers. Kurt Busch, Keselowski. Now, I did mention, like as I mentioned before, 2016 through 2018, Darlington was the low downforce years. So it's a good idea, I think, to look at those numbers, especially for Kyle Larson fans. He was ridiculous. You look at laps led over those 3 years. Kyle Larson, 453 laps led at Darlington. Almost double that of Kevin Harvick, who led 236 over the same 3-race time span. Got Hamlin up there at 148, Martin Truex Jr. 134. Fastest laps, Larson, Truex, Harvick, Hamlin. A lot of the same guys. A lot of it hasn't changed. Average running position over those 3 races, again, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Larson, Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, Keselowski, all strong. Kyle Busch, Logano. You get the point. I think we know who is probably going to contend and who should contend. Is this finally the race that Kevin Harvick gets his dominating self back and leads laps and truly contends? Yes, he finished second last week at Kansas, but he didn't have the second best car. He had about an 8th place car, maybe 6th. They benefited from the late cautions. They had newer tires. That's why Kevin Harvick finished second last week. I don't think that team is back by any means. Could he go out here and lead early at Darlington? Yes. Is it probably going to be Keselowski that leads early? Yes. Martin Truex Jr. starting 4th. Definitely a contender. My only concern with Truex, it's a day race. We know how Truex is during the day. And if you go back to this race last year, he was not good. He was not good at all for the first, I'd say, half of that race. Remember, that race, the first race last year was during the day. He started 15th. He was back in like 35th. I'm not 100% sure if he got lapped, but he was close. They adjusted the hell out of that car. He got back up to 6th, but definitely not his typical Darlington race. The other 2 races, as you can see here, very strong for Truex, 2nd and 3rd, and the second May race that Wednesday after the first day race. I forget what happened for him to finish 10th. And then the 3rd race in September, look at that, led 196 laps, probably should have won the race. That's when him and Chase Elliott wrecked while going for the lead and ruined a ton of people's fantasy lineups that night with 10 laps to go or so. Yeah, so that's Harvick, and I don't really think Harvick's in play for this Slingshot Fantasy Auto Contest this week just because he starts second. It's too risky. If I'm starting a lineup, I don't see how you cannot go Kyle Larson. The guy is just so freaking fast. I mean, Homestead finished 3rd, I believe. Atlanta absolutely dominated. Again, another high wear track. Last week, dominated. His stats here at Darlington in Chip Ganassi cars are nuts. I mean, look here quick. Last 4 races, 2nd, 3rd, 14th, 3rd. That race that he finished 14th, he led 124 laps. The guy's just a stud at this racetrack, and now he has probably the fastest car in the garage. Shit happens, just like last week when he hit the wall, but there's no reason to not pick him. Like, he's just that fast. He can go out there. He's starting 14th. He can win both stages and win the race and get most laps led. That's going to be a huge points day in Slingshot. I just don't see how you cannot pick him unless you're going for the contrarian of to be different. And hope that he has issues again. I can understand it. I have that mindset a lot, especially in DraftKings. Something like Slingshot, I'm rolling with Larson, and I'm not thinking twice about it. There's 0% chance that Kyle Larson will not be in my lineup this weekend. Going down, I think this week is back. I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago. The typical Slingshot lineup construction that we saw a lot last year as being optimal. And I think we're going to have to round it out. So going up from starting with Larson, I'm going to add Ryan Preece in my lineup as my second driver. Gives us 31,300 for the last three drivers. I don't mind digging down there and taking Preece. If you look at his record here, he's actually pretty decent at this track. 17th, 20th, 22nd in 3 of his 4 starts here. Obviously, it's Ryan Preece, so he can always wreck. And wouldn't be surprising. You could go. I also don't mind jumping down and grabbing Corey LaJoie. That car is just not getting the finishes. But once they start getting the finishes, I'd say, LaJoie doesn't have the upside of Preece, and he's riskier. But if you need that extra $200 in cap space, I can understand taking LaJoie. A few big names wreck out of this race, and LaJoie could finish 25th, 24th. Last week they had mechanical issues again. Once they finally get those issues out, Corey LaJoie really isn't running that bad. He's still Corey LaJoie. You know what you're getting with them, but they're in position a lot of these races to get a decent finish. And a game like Slingshot, when you're rounding out your lineup with one of these guys like Ryan Preece, Corey LaJoie, you just want them to finish the race. So I think those are the 2 plays down here in the lower parts of these drivers. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. The driver roster, I get lineup. I don't know, but I wouldn't dig down to the back markers. Darlington is the best drivers are going to show up and shine here on Sunday, and it's just not a race that you want to pick the back markers. They're not going to do well. A lot of them are probably going to hit the wall. Hello, Quinn Houff. But I probably wouldn't go lower than Corey LaJoie, Ryan Preece, maybe Justin Haley. It just depends how the rest of your lineup comes up in the salary cap. So where it gets interesting is what you want to do then, in my opinion, once you have these 2. So pretty much Larson and Preece Larson's for sure going to be in my lineup. Preece is probably, if not Preece, LaJoie. So if I want to come here, Alex Bowman, if we look back at his 4 races here last year, Bowman was very strong. My only concern with him is they are disappointing a lot. So all 3 races last year, Bowman top 10 in all 6 stages. So definitely something you like to see. But again, you look at his results this year, it's like this is complete boom or bust, but it's more bust than anything. Last 5 races, 18th, 38th, the win at Richmond, 34th, 22nd. He's killing people in fantasy this year. But high wear tracks this year, 9th at Homestead, 3rd at Atlanta. Was strong at Darlington last year, and he starts 19th. Very good pick in my opinion. So let's throw him on here. So we got 10-6 left for our last 2 drivers. I don't like Logano a lot, even though he starts 12th. Looking at these top drivers, Hamlin obviously in play, starts 7th, place differential play, starting 7th and having a little bit of room to move up. Stage points for sure, could win this race. Same with Martin Truex Jr., doesn't have the place differential upside, starting 4th, but still a little bit. If he wins a race, if he wins the most or leads the most laps, gets those stage points, he could work out. Chase Elliott, I think he's going to finish about where he starts, 6th. And then I honestly don't hate taking Keselowski this week starting first because I think he can lead the most laps, and I think he can definitely get stage points. So let's throw Hamlin on here and just see how much we have left in cap space. So Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman. It leaves you enough to grab Ryan Newman, which I honestly don't hate at all. If you look at Newman's stats here at Darlington, '14th, 15th, 14th, and 15th, 3 races. Usually very strong here. Newman was 16th last week. 7th at Homestead, 13th at Atlanta. I think this lineup is relatively safe. You got the upside there with Newman. Not a ton of upside. I mean, it's still Ryan Newman. He's probably going to finish in the teens. But in order to fit Hamlin, Bowman, Larson into this, you need to grab you're going to need to grab Newman. I wouldn't take DiBenedetto. Now, here's where, like Justin Haley comes into play. So if you drop Ryan Preece, grab Justin Haley, you can now grab Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Obviously, we all know how freaking risky that is, but Stenhouse isn't awful at Darlington, plus that team's running better this year. So 19th, 12th, 18th, 20th. So you look at these 3 years, 2016, 2018, the low downforce years, 18th, 29th, and 12th. He starts 28th. Is it worth the trade-off for Priest down to Haley? I think so. What you could also do if you didn't want to do Haley, you could come up and grab LaJoy, but you'd have to go Truex instead of Hamlin, and that's if you keep Bowman on this lineup. So let's keep Hamlin on there. Let's get back up to Priest. Now drop Stenhouse. I really like Christopher Bell this week. I don't have great reasoning for it, other than the fact that he's running the same car that Eric Jones put these numbers up with. I mean, Eric Jones was a fantasy. Eric Jones was always my go-to in fantasy NASCAR at Darlington. Every single time I just played Eric Jones. He has an career average finish of 5.2. I mean, he was one of the most up and down guys in that 20 car, but you could always count on him at Darlington. So that's one reason I like Christopher Bell. Plus, he's starting 21st, I believe. And then you look back at last year, he finished 11th in the second race. Obviously not great. I mean, those numbers that he's putting up aren't instilling the most confidence in me, but I like the upside there. You look at, he finished 20th at Homestead, 21st at Atlanta. Don't like that. If you look at the 750 horsepower package this year, first at Daytona Road Course, 9th at Phoenix, 7th at Martinsville, 4th at Richmond. How much is that going to translate to this race? It's hard to tell. It's obviously Darlington isn't Martinsville. It's over twice the length of it. It's not really like Richmond. Same with Phoenix. It's just hard to tell what this package is going to do. But if you grab Christopher Bell, you could throw Reddick on there. Reddick finished 7th here last year. A lot of people are going to be talking about Tyler Reddick this year. 7th, 13th, and 23rd. He definitely has upside. I like what that 8 team is doing right now. So he started out as an awful pick this year. 8th or better in 4 of the last 5, with Richmond being the exception. Finished 2nd at Homestead. I think he hit the wall early at Atlanta. That's what happened there. But yeah, I like that. I like how they're running right now. That gives you enough. If you want to drop Bell, drop Priest and grab LaJoy. You can grab Kurt Busch. If we look, Kurt Busch it's another one of those guys. I don't like how he's running right now, but it's hard to look past what he's done at this track. So you look at Darlington, the last 8 races here. Kurt Busch, 8th, 15th, 3rd, 7th, 6th, 3rd, 34th, and 6th. Finished 8th at Homestead. He was running top 5 at Atlanta. I think Kurt Busch has plenty of upside this week. I don't hate this lineup. I would probably, if I was going to go with Kurt Busch and Tyler Reddick as my 2 middle guys, I'd probably jump down off of Hamlin, grab Truex, and then go up to Priest. I have this feeling about Priest, but again, you shouldn't make like big lineup decisions based on your low dollar guys. It's the rule of thumb that I often forget, because like Ryan Priest, Corey LaJoy, the difference in points is probably going to be what, like 10, whereas the difference in points for Hamlin and Truex could be 40. So yeah, maybe I'm probably overthinking that right now. Chances are I'm going to come back to this lineup and be like, just go with LaJoy, get Hamlin. I like Hamlin's upside more this week. Obviously, my algorithm loves Denny Hamlin this week. And then Truex, the whole, the race running during the day. That team just seems to struggle during that. I don't think we're going to get to where this race is on Sunday is going to be at night. So I still think he's top. I still think he's top 5, and he could probably still go win. I mean, but yeah. So that's kind of the lineup construction I'm looking at when it comes to the Slingshot contest. I'm not really paying attention to a lot of drivers this week. I'm hitting Larson. I'm either going to put Hamlin or Truex on there. I'm either going to put Kurt Busch or Bowman on there. And then it's going to be either Reddick, Stenhouse, Newman, and then Priest, LaJoy, or Haley. Those are about I don't see myself going away from that very much. Eric Jones, yes, he has a great history here. He's also in a car that's junk compared to what he had when he put up those awesome numbers here. So, yeah, he could surprise people. He could run top 10. I could be completely wrong. I'm not taking that risk. I'd rather go Stenhouse, rather go Reddick, even though Jones is starting 26th, and we all know how important place differential is. I don't trust the car at all. But yeah, hopefully Darlington's usually good racing, so hopefully we get that again. Should be another. Hopefully it's not like complete domination again with Kyle Larson, but I have a feeling it's going to be. The Hendrick cars were so strong here, especially in that first race last year. That was ran during the day, and they're arguably better this year. And yeah, it won't take Larson that long to get to the front. So good luck to everybody in their Slingshot picks this week as we close out the first third of this season already. 12 out of 36 races will be done after Sunday, unless it rains. I haven't checked the weather. But yeah, good luck. See you next week for Dover. See ya.